Welcome to this new episode of Digital Health Innovators. My name is Aline, and I'm the founder of Digital Health Innovators. So we've been organizing such events for the past 12 years, so bringing together the different actors of the digital health ecosystem about topics that matter to them. So this event tonight is organized in collaboration with TISAC, with DiarioSalud, and with the support of Consorcio DTx. So today we're going to talk about PECAN. So the new early access reimbursement program that was launched in France for digital medical devices. And so in October, we organized an event around DiGA with Alex from Digital Oxygen, so the German program. And today we wanted to cover the French program. So we have two speakers for this event. So first we have Christophe Bonneton, who is expert in medical devices, very familiar with the PECAN process. And then we have François Guirec-Chapoiseau, who is the CEO of Cureety, the first company to receive the PECAN certification in France, and who will share his experience firsthand. So remember that if you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat so we can address them during the Q&A. So without further ado, I will leave the floor to Christophe.
Thank you, Aline. Can you see my screen? Is it okay for you?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So thank you all. Thank you for being here today with Aline, François. I do hope that after this presentation, you will get a better understanding about what is PECAN, the French reimbursement for digital medical device and telemonitoring activities. And we are lucky because François from Cureety is the first company to be acceptable on the PECAN reimbursement. So we have a great feedback about the experience and the journey to PECAN. Okay, so just a quick presentation about myself. I've been in the medical device field for more than 25 years. I've been working for companies like Medtronic, Boston Scientific, ResMed, a lot of companies. And also I've been responsible to introduce in the market a lot of clinical study, medical device, and being responsible for all the regulatory and market access things. And I've been also a startups founder or investor in companies, and also of the first digital healthcare company in Spain called Salud.com in early 2000. So let's go. Just a quick overview about the French healthcare sector. So we had a plan in France called Plan France 2030, and it's with a dotation of 7.5 billion euros. So it's quite a lot of money, you know, to be a big player. And among this, you have almost 1 billion, you know, for the e-healthcare, what they call in France santé numérique. And PECAN, prise en charge anticipée numérique, belongs to this plan. Sorry, I'm just going to, okay. So, HAS, the French Healthcare Assessment Agency, is in charge of collecting clinical, technical, and economical data from companies that are looking to get reimbursement of the public administration in France. HAS is divided in groups, and the main groups in charge of clinical evaluations and economical evaluations are CNEDIMS and CPS. This is names that you will be familiar with if you want to go for a reimbursement in France regarding your digital technologies. The certifications will give you 5 years time reimbursement in France. And in the meantime, you will be listed on what they call the LPPR list to get access of the social security reimbursements of the French administrations. The reimbursement process from the time you will submit your dossier to the time you should get a reimbursement is about 6 months. The administrative cost to register is only or 3,200 euros. And of course, after this 5 years reimbursement period, you will have to ask for renewable reimbursements and to provide clinical data that are showing your device is still giving, efficiency, safety, and maybe improving the first clinical results that you gave at the beginning to the French administrations. So LPPR means liste des produits prestations remboursables. So PECAN is a new fast track to facilitate the launch of digital health innovations. I will give you at the end of the presentation the specific portal for candidates. The portal is also in English, so it's quite a very good tool for people who want to get familiar with the PECAN. And my advice is before doing anything, having a look at this portal. So it's a 1-year transitional reimbursement for digital and telemonitoring activities. It's going to be a fixed price, at least for the medical device. The price will be communicated this quarter. It's not already fixed. And the candidates will have then, 6 months during this period to apply for the permanent reimbursement. The application period is more or less 3 to 4 months. And it will facilitate and fasten applications through 2 different channels. One from the ANS, which is the Agence Nationale de Sécurité, which will take a look about all your interoperability data. And the other one is the HAS CNEDIMS, will have a look at your medical and technical files. So what should be the level of maturity to be able, to ask and to be eligible for PECAN? So first of all, you will have to comply with the Agence de Santé Numérique, the ANS, and they will ask you several kind of data to be sure that you comply with the French interoperability system. And it's basically the one that the European agency is asking for. So it's not complicated, but it's quite detailed. I will give you some information later on the presentation. You must have a valid CE medical, at least. You must be innovative. You have to be able to provide, some clinical evidence on benefit of your solutions. You should also provide potential organizational benefits of using your solutions. And of course, within the 6 months, you will have to be ready to ask for permanent reimbursement. So just when you will be applying, just be sure that you just, bring the information that you have. Don't try to bring last-minute informations. The French administration is quite now open to discussions and to understand, what you will have to offer, what might miss, and just be sure that most of your team, is part of this effort, because it is very important to have everyone, involved in this process. So another overview about PECAN. So it started in April 2023. As I said before, it's a 1-year transitional reimbursement, so it's temporary. And as we said before with Aline, the first listed solution was Cureety in October 2023. Why? It's just to be sure that your innovations, will have a CE mark, and also, is for therapeutic purposes. And all your digital solutions might also comply or be linked with remote monitoring, or just remote monitoring software without, digital therapies. And of course, you should have clinical study to support your application. So, as I said before, you will have a parallel evaluation between the French agency HAS and the Digital Health Agency, ANS. Then you would get an authorization decision by the Ministry of Health from France. And as I said before, the target duration of this process is more or less 4 months to get application to your first patients. Maybe François will tell us if this is true or not. So why? Just to get or to facilitate access to innovations on digital innovation for the patients, and also to provide an operational deployment in parallel, and also to have access at a permanent reimbursement. And as far as I know, as June 2023, 14 applications were submitted, and mostly were for telemonitoring of chronic disease. So here you have the global journey for PECAN, and I guess it's quite clear how it will work. And at the end of your journey, you will have a publication from the French Ministry of Health to give you the right to have this temporary reimbursement and to do your telemonitoring activities or therapeutic or digital therapeutics device through the French hospitals, public or private. So what are the basics or minimum information requested on both platforms called Convergence and Evatech? So the Convergence platform is for the ANS. This is the digital certifications. So they're asking you several informations that you can, of course, find on the Genius platform. And as I said before, I will give you the Genius platform a link just at the end of my presentation, so you can understand and check and double check all the information requested. On the other platform is Evatech. This is the one where you will submit your technical or medico-technical dossier. And inside your dossier, well, you should provide IFU, device descriptions, intention to treat, your CE mark certificates, pathologies, targeted populations, clinical studies portfolio, organizational benefits, on description, of course, also of your telemonitoring activities if you are doing, telemonitoring and not submitting for a device. What is going to be the price compensations? So for digital therapeutics, the price compensation will be published this quarter, so I don't already have the price. It will be a fixed price by the Ministry of Health, and we don't know at that time if it's going to be a similar price as the one we can see with DiGA. And for the remote monitoring activities, the price compensation for the manufacturer, if you can demonstrate potential organizational benefits, it's going to be 50 euro per patient per month. And the prices should be adjusted every 6 months. And of course, this is additional if you already have, your solutions listed on the LATM, which is like LPPR, but for a software list. And it will be in addition of the remuneration you might already have, from your technology. So just for you to understand that PECAN is just transitional, what's going to be, when you will be good for the PECAN reimbursements. You start PECANs. If you are telemonitoring, you will get a 12-month reimbursement. You will have until 9 months to submit your permanent reimbursements while PECAN is ongoing. You will need to get an evaluation by CNEDINS about your new submission, your new permanent submissions. And if it's accepted, well, you will have the 5-year reimbursement. And basically, it's the same for the digital medical device. PECAN starts, 12 months transitional reimbursement. You will have only until 6 months to submit your permanent reimbursements. You will have another evaluation by the CNEDIMS. The CNEDIMS is really the clinical part of the HIS, looking at all the clinical data. You will have, which is different from telemonitoring, a negotiation with the CPS, Comité économique des prestations sanitaires, that we will, discuss with you what should be the price that will be accepted to get your device reimbursed for 5 years. So just before ending these presentations, giving you maybe what can be the difference between PECAN and DiGA. So PECAN is coming from a law from the Social Security. It's therapeutic on telemonitoring activities, class 1, 2A, 2B, and 3, which is not the case with DiGA, you will see. It belongs, to HIS and ANS to evaluate, your PECAN application. And it's a 1-year transitional reimbursement, and it cannot be, renewed. So right now, to give you an update about what I've heard while preparing these presentations, some people in France are asking that this transitional reimbursement, instead of being for 1 year, can be for 18 months. And I do hope that it should be something accepted, because I think it's better to get more time to be ready for the permanent reimbursements. And for DiGA, it's the German Digital Healthcare Act. It's therapeutic only, so you don't have any telemonitoring activities. It's class 1 and 2A only. You don't have 2B and 3, just like for PECAN. It's the BfArM agency that evaluates candidates. And it's a 1-year extendable reimbursement. Initial price is a manufactured price, while negotiated a final price after 12 months. So here you have all the information about the Genius platform that, as I was telling you, is also available in English, where you can get a lot of information regarding, digital technologies. And I can tell you this is really helpful, at least to understand and check if you are ready to submit. So my advice, is to go on this platform, genius.esante.gouv.fr. And I think these are the key messages, I would like you to get before ending my presentations. Of course, be prepared. So have all the requirements before going to apply. Use the Genius platform. PECAN certificate is not giving you the right to permanent reimbursement, but I do hope you just understood that with my presentations. If you are eligible, you will have to apply for the permanent reimbursements. And I think this is very important. It's not because you have access to reimbursement in France, PECAN or permanent, that hospital will use your technology. You will need, Salesforce distributors, to promote your technology. And maybe François can tell us something, if you have time in his presentation, about how difficult this is to sell new technology to hospitals in France or in Europe. And of course, my recommendation is always smart to work with a specific consultant for the journey to early digital medical device and telemonitoring reimbursement in France, but also, I guess, in Germany and everywhere where you are not familiar, with the authorities and the regulatory pathways. Thank you for your time. I would also like to thank the people in France who helped me to prepare this presentation, Vincent Vercamer from the Digital Health Delegations, and also Corinne Collignon, the DTx General Manager at the Haute Autorité de Santé. And now I leave François with Cureety going for his presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christophe, for this great introduction. So to give us an overview of what PECAN is. And now, so we're gonna go in the trenches, as I say, with François, who really lived it firsthand for several months, and he will tell us more about his solution and his experience going through that process. François, all yours.
Hi everyone, very happy to share Cureety experience with market access in France and the PECAN process. So a few words about Cureety. Cureety is a pure player in the remote patient monitoring space for oncology patients. And we also work in the research industry alongside the providing a digital platform for remote monitoring of oncology patients. In oncology, there has been many randomized clinical trials around the world showcasing strong benefits of remote patient monitoring in oncology. This has led some medical oncology society to provide guidelines, and especially the European Society of Medical Oncology that has promoted RPM in oncology as the new standard of care in Europe. In France, we have been lucky to have the health authorities and the government to implement a framework with PECAN and permanent reimbursement for digital therapies and especially remote patient monitoring. So what we do with Cureety is remote monitoring of all cancer for all treatments with a proven algorithm that we have validated with scientific publications. And of course, we comply with the regulation of medical device in Europe and GDPR. Just a snapshot of the process we ran through, and that was earlier explained with by Christophe. So there has been a law, the Social Security Financing Act in 2022 that has been passed and that has paved the way to implement in the law the market access framework with PECAN and permanent reimbursement for remote patient monitoring for chronic disease. And we've been through the negotiation with the healthcare authorities all along the process. We applied for PECAN program in April, right after the decree was published. We applied in parallel to the certification of Agence du Numérique en Santé, the technical agency from the state that is assessing the security and interoperability capabilities of the software, digital softwares that are eligible or potentially eligible to reimbursement. Just one quick comment on that process with the Agence du Numérique en Santé. This is not a light process. This is quite a heavy one. It's very technical, of course. You have a referential that is public and that will be presented to you if you want to apply to such a process, with a lot of technical developments to perform. Just to give you an idea of the amount of work it was for us, it took us 7 months to do all the development, the requirements with our technical team and product team to enter and start the process. It was pretty long. And of course, after submitting all the proof of the developments we had to do, there has been a detailed evaluation for each proof needed on each technical requirements that were required. And it took us 3 months of back and forth discussions with the health agency to complete the proof we needed to showcase to them. So it was not a light process, and it was quite an amount of work. At the time, we were a team of 15 people, of technical people and product people to deploy all these functionalities and technical requirements. When we were ready on that front, and luckily we were ready in time to enter this process when the decree was published. So we were also able to file our our file for health authority with the HAS approval that was needed at the end. And we obtained a green light from the HAS and from the national agency 3 months after submitting our files. From both agencies, it was almost at the same at the same period we received a green light from both agencies, and we obtained an approval for reimbursement for the indications that we targeted. So all adult cancer patients undergoing systemic treatments or radiotherapy treatments, which was quite a success for us. There was a little delay compared to the obligations of the health authorities. Once we received the approval from the health authorities, there should have been a decree 1 month after that from the Ministry of Health acknowledging the reimbursement and starting the reimbursement for Cureety. It should have been published on the 25th of August, but with the holidays and all, our decree was a bit delayed. And because we were the first also, we had a technical delay to face. So it took us 60 days to get this decree, while it should have been, in fact, 30 days only. But it was just a small delay, nothing critical on our hand on a business level. So as I said, the Cureety is a RPM platform specialized for oncology, that is cancer and is cancer agnostic, that is providing a lot of digital supportive care to patients aside the management of symptoms, and that is providing a lot of content, videos, articles to help patients in their patients path in the oncology pathway. We work with almost 80 healthcare institutions in France, Spain, and Italy, and we started to deploy Cureety as well in the Middle East. And we work with very strategic partners on the academic level to promote research programs on Cureety platform or research programs that is using the Cureety data we collect on innovative treatments in oncology. Snapshot of our partners in Europe. Won't be long on that. This is our scientific committee. I'm not sure this is the topic of the presentation. I think what you must be interested, it's what should be of interest to you. It is the studies that we had to complete before applying to PECAN, on the studies that we presented to the health authorities as ongoing studies that will be completed at the end of the PECAN process to finalize a permanent reimbursement. So my advice to digital therapeutics companies or RPM companies that are looking to obtain reimbursement in France is to focus on two things. The type of data that will be accepted by the health authorities is only published articles or study reports on a study. And you won't get any acceptance of data that is only presented to Congress. So the posters you see are not accepted as validated clinical data for the health authorities. You need really to present published articles or study reports. It's quite important to know that. And my advice is to any digital health platform prior filing to PECAN is to focus on three things. The three things that are easy to focus on and that are easy to assess and to publish on are patient satisfaction, doctor satisfaction, and of course patient adherence on the system, and also the algorithm assessment, the performance algorithm studies that you should do to explain that your algorithm inside your system are working well if you are using algorithm. So we did on our hand, we did one study showcasing the interest of using RPM for patients that are in clinical trials, with a comparison of these patients that were not in the clinical trials, on the beginning of proof that was showcased in the article, but not statistically relevant on the emergency hospitalization reduction permitted by the platform. We also assess the satisfaction and the compliance, the adherence of the patients on the tool, and that was acceptable data for the health authorities. We also did a focus on elderly patients, older patients, in terms of adherence and satisfaction, because it was a question of interest for the academic field and academic researchers, and it was something of interest also for the health authorities, explaining that very old oncology patients could use digital softwares and could be monitored remotely. We also showcased Cureety. We also explained in a publication in the International Journal of Cancer that Cureety was a predictive factor, potentially a good promising predictive factor of cancer progress. But it was only a correlation, and it is not what we called an impact of organizational benefits or clinical benefits. It's just showing that the tool is useful for healthcare practitioners to anticipate treatment plan adaptation while you are using the tool. But it was something of interest for health authorities, even though it's not sufficient enough to obtain a permanent reimbursement. So we did these 2 publications, and we did also a study reports on a performance algorithm study. I don't know if this is a performance algorithm studies that we presented to ASCO, and we presented the study report associated to this study alongside the 2 other publications that I talked about earlier. So this is something that is very important and quite easy to do, not very costly when you are submitting a file to PECAN. And I advise strongly to do such a study completed before applying to PECAN. So the study we did was among 400 patients, assessing 400 alerts, and presenting the 400 alerts to 2 independent experts that were assessing all the questionnaires and applying their own clinical classification to these questionnaires with their clinical eye, I would say. And after that, we were comparing the clinical eye, the clinical evaluation from the experts with the clinical classification of the medical device, of Cureety device. And from that point, we assess the sensitivity of the tool, so the capability of the tool to flag correctly the alerts and the problematic situations among patients with red and orange alerts. And we also assess the specificity of the tool, so the capabilities of the tool not to generate false alerts. So having patients that are in orange and that should be in yellow or green, if I translate that to remote monitoring. So the conclusion of the study report that the fact that the system was assessing correctly and identifying correctly the vulnerable patients, and also the system was not generating false alerts, which was something very important for the healthcare system. In parallel to that and to these studies, we launched several studies that we presented to health authorities, and we explained to the health authorities that some of these studies will be completed by the end of the PECAN process. So the 2 studies that were about to be completed when we started the PECAN process was Argos and Minerva. Alternative study is a study that we perform with unique cancer and that will be finished in 4 years. So the most important studies for the health authorities and to obtain a permanent reimbursement, it is a prospective randomized clinical trial among 82 patients. It's called Minerva. And the main objective of the study is to assess the impact of Cureety platform on routine care and paramedical activities in terms of phone calls. What we understood from our users and the healthcare level was the fact that Cureety platform was reducing a lot the number of phone calls for paramedicals, for nurses, basically. And this is what we call an organizational benefit, because when you have less phone calls, you can better focus yourself on problematic situations. And so this study started in January 2023, so 4 months before we applied to PECAN, and will be completed in May, so 2 months before going back to the health authorities and presenting these results, to the final results of the study, to health authorities to obtain a permanent reimbursement. So this was the main studies for the PECAN program, but the health authorities appreciated the fact that we had other studies ongoing. One little study on hematology, one study that is post-market surveillance studies and very descriptive on the deployment of Cureety in real-world settings. It's called Argos, and one larger studies, randomized, prospective, with quite a big budget that we obtained from France 2030 program. You must know that France 2030 is distributing some money to help companies to assess the benefits of the tools that they want to have, for which they want to obtain a reimbursement. So these are the main studies that we did and that we are also running in parallel of PECAN. And don't hesitate to have more than one study to present when you are applying to PECAN, because some of the studies you launch will be negative, or could be negative, or could struggle to include all the patients you want to include in time. So you don't have to put all your eggs in the same basket, I will say. And it's very positive to multiply opportunities to showcase positive results. And if you are working in the space in remote patient monitoring, I would strongly advise to focus first on organizational impact. So it will be a reduction of hospitalization, reduction of consultations that are not useful, etc., etc. And if you do so, you have better chances, I will say, than trying to reach a survival benefit that takes, or morbidity benefit that will take much more time to assess when you are doing a randomized trial. I think I said everything I had to say. Yes. So I'm open to question, of course, if you want to ask us some question.
Thank you very much, François. That was really great, very insightful, very, very concrete, very useful for the audience. So we have a few questions, follow-up of your questions. Maybe the first one, does the clinical data presented for reimbursement have to be from a study conducted in France, or can it be from another European country?
Okay, so and I will try to complete also. First thing, you must know that the data that is acceptable for the health authorities is both the data that you collect with your own clinical trials, so specific data to your system, but you can also use in your argumentary data from other clinical trials that are using systems that are really similar to yours. In RPM, in oncology, we had several trials showing benefits in the US or in northern countries of RPM in oncology. So in our file, we did use this non-specific data in addition to the specific data we already had or that we were supposed to have in the end. So this is a first level of answer. And the second level of answer to your question specifically, my understanding is that, of course, this is much better to have your own clinical trial in France showcasing good results. But if you have specific data in Spain or in Italy or any other countries that you want to transpose and showcase to French authorities, I believe that are accepted by the health authorities, but you need to work a bit on the argumentary alongside it, because of course they will criticize this data around the fact that the healthcare system is not organized the same way in Spain than in France, and the pathway, the patient's pathways that you are working on is not exactly the same. So if you are specifically on organizational benefits, I think it's not relevant to use data that are coming from trials outside France. But if you are presenting clinical benefits like morbidity, survival, quality of life, I believe it could be acceptable. My only advice would be that you don't go to the health authorities alone. You take a good market access firm. If you want to know who we work with MedConsult. I will put it in the chat. There are two companies for market access in medical device in France that are quite great, and MedConsult is one of them, and this is the one we use. So I would strongly advise for you to work with such a company to establish your file, establish your argumentary for health authorities. And what you can do is what we call early consultation, early consultation with HAS, health authority. So you go to health authorities, and this is a quite formal meeting where you present what you have in your pocket, what type of data you have, what type of benefit you are looking to showcase to the health authorities, and you can have a first level of information of what could be acceptable, what would not be acceptable for them. And this will give you a good clue of what will be accepted. So this is I don't have a definitive answer on that front. I think you can reuse data from Spain, from clinical trials in Spain. The base data you can have is data from randomized clinical trial. It's something that is really important, and published article with external control arm and methodologies that are real-world methodologies. Of course, it is accepted, but it is less powerful for health authorities, so more risky to use such type of data.
Yeah, and just to complete François' comments regarding digital medical device, yes, you can come with another clinical study that is not coming from France, as long as you can demonstrate that you are treating the same kind of patients that's the one you will treat in France. So regarding organizational benefits, like François said, I strongly suggest to get your clinical study in France, because the organizations can be very different from an hospital to another, even in France or in Spain. So you should, of course, go with a consultant, and he will help you. And as François said, I guess having a first meeting with HAS to understand if you are ready, if the protocol you are going to bring for your clinical studies is okay, is also something very interesting, and it will provide you, or it will prevent you to waste a lot of time gathering clinical data or information that will not be accepted. So my advice is to do so.
Perfect, thank you. So we have another question about, so the documentation about PECAN mentions that DTx can work on prevention or prediction, are not apt for the process. Can you please elaborate on what kind of devices that includes?
I would say that for me, this is something new because I saw some projects that are going to PECAN and also to permanent reimbursement that are prevention. So this is something I need to read because I didn't have this information as clear. So if Maria can give us or contact us, outside the chat to clearly explain what does she mean or giving me where this information is coming from, I would be very happy because this is not something, unless maybe François or Aline you are aware from, but this is not something.
I overheard such an information as well around prevention. Honestly, I don't know perfectly what lies around the space of DTx. Yeah, this is something to double check. But with for devices that are including prediction, I think it's not a problem. Predicting issues if you are doing remote patient monitoring with a prediction module inside it, but you are eligible to remote patient monitoring. It's something that is of course acceptable.
And it's the same for a software that, for example, is looking at pixelizations and giving you information about between two images, what should be the predictions, before between the 6 months time you take a look at your images with your algorithm. This is some things that you can submit. So this is really something I would like to better understand and have a better look where this information is really coming from, Maria.
Okay, so now we have another question for Christophe. So when talking about the DTx price compensation, you mentioned something about HCP's reimbursement. Could you go back at this again?
Yes, it was for telemonitoring activities because this is important. The new PECAN François with their software, they were not already, listed on the LTIM list, but for someone who is giving like a respiratory device that is providing information to the provider on that is invoiced, €20 every month to the French authorities because this is something information that prevents a lot of additional cost. If you are then bringing, an additional algorithm or digital technology that is giving you an additional dashboard that can use physicians to check if you have to modify your device, the reimbursement price for this digital technology, as far as I know, and I wrote, was €50 by month. I don't know how it works for François softwares on the reimbursement that they got, but the price is fixed. So what I wanted to say is that if you already have €20 and you are eligible for PECAN for 50, you will then have, €70 reimbursement out of from your technology. Okay, this is only for telemonitoring activities, okay, not for digital.
Yeah. Remote monitoring implies dual reimbursement, one for the editor, one for the HCPs, the healthcare practitioners. But for DTx, this is a single pricing for the single amount of money for the editor, because you don't mobilize the medical teams with DTx on the understanding of healthcare authorities, of course. Sometimes you do.
Is it like the PECAN also that, or like the reimbursement price, like for like a 3-month treatment period? And can that be repeated, or do you have more information about that?
Well, for the moment, François, you want to reply?
I just didn't understand the question.
Like with PECAN, with DiGA, they would reimburse you an amount for but you can repeat.
Yeah, but the amount that you get as a DTx in DiGA, it's something like €8 for a trimester. So it's totally ridiculous. It's not used to. it doesn't boost and foster adoption at all. On the contrary, it's quite the digital therapeutics, the DTx platforms that are deployed well in Germany and that do some volumes are the ones that are not used by HCPs, are self-tools, self-patient patients that are using the tools in autonomy. I'm talking about Cranus Health, for example, that does quite nice volumes in Germany with DTx as a DTx, and they don't have any usage on the HCP side. It's like an autonomous program on a 4-month period, and that's all.
Okay.
So yeah, no money so far for the and I have some not the details on the pricing, but I think it was roughly around 900 euros per year, between 800 and 900 euros per year, I think, for DTx in PECAN that was negotiated.
And talking about adoption and HCP, so in your case, I know it's still early, but having the PECAN, does it help with the adoption by healthcare professionals or to push your solution to the market?
Of course, it helps a lot because the healthcare practitioners get paid using the device. So we had quite a big network prior obtaining the reimbursement, but the usage was small in these centers. But now that we have the reimbursement and now that the centers are earning money, the adoption is quite big. I would say that 1 year ago we were doing in December 2022 we were doing 100 prescriptions per month, so it was very small volumes. And we had around 500, 600 active patients on a monthly basis. And 1 year after, we were reaching 1,000 new prescriptions per month. And we have something like 4,000 active patients now. So the adoption is booming thanks to the reimbursement, but we do a lot of hard work on the field also to sign with hospitals and deploy the platform, and we are physically there quite often. My life is always on the field, always in hospitals.
Yeah. Always on the run.
So talking about hospital, we have another question. So for DTx, once reimbursement is approved, the sourcing goes through a hospital?
I don't get the answer.
The question?
Yeah, I don't get the question. Yes. What do you mean the sourcing go to the hospital?
Maria, maybe you can explain the question again.
Maybe the prescription, the fact that it gets prescribed by doctors or so it depends. I believe if you have a DTx that can be prescribed by CT practitioners, for example, a cardiologist in town or any healthcare practitioners that are working in the city, your targeted prescribers will be the practitioners from the city. If you have a tool that is the patient get the solution because you are reaching the doctors that will prescribe it. So you need to sign each doctors or each hospitals. If you are working on chronic disease managed by hospitals, you need to sign them and have them prescribe your tool with a prescription.
So you're really going through HCPs. Is there an option to go through also maybe in parallel to the patient? So the patient or seek the healthcare professional and say, hey, can I have access to Cureety? Does it work?
You can have a B2C2B process, I will say. In Germany, I see that a lot. In remote patient monitoring in France, we don't do that. We target hospitals directly. But I saw companies highlighting and promoting their device with a lot of digital marketing on the internet and targeting patients and inviting patients to invite their doctors to have the prescription.
Okay, perfect.
But as long as you don't have a prescription, you don't get reimbursed.
Okay. So. And maybe so one question about permanent reimbursement. So you talk about the PECAN process was a very heavy process to get the certification, and then you will get to the permanent reimbursement. How heavy is that process? Like, is it also a lot of...
It's the same file we did last year for the health authorities with the new data we have collected during the year with the ongoing trials, and that is available. So the potentially 1 or 2 study reports or 1 study report with 2 additional publications. And the process is a bit the same. The only difference is that when you have the first assessment from you submit your file, you have a 60 days period where the health authorities is assessing your file on the new data, etc. Then they give you a positive opinion or a negative opinion, negative decision. If you get a negative decision, what is possible is to ask for a meeting where you will defend your project and where you will maybe further explain some points that were not comprehensive or that were not understood by the committee of the HAS. And it happens quite often in digital therapeutics field or RPM field. It is quite often necessary to have a meeting face-to-face with the members of the committee, so you can further explain the point. Further explain your points. For example, in PECAN, we didn't have this opportunity, but when I read the transcript of the committee, you have an access to the transcript of the discussion among the committee members from HAS. And when I read these transcripts, I understood that the members of the committee did not understand the basic functioning of the tool. Sorry, I have there was a misunderstanding of the basic functioning of the tool. They thought that the algorithm of Cureety were configurable by all the centers, which was not the case. The only thing that was configurable was the fact that we highlight the phone number of the hospital. Of course, it is configurable, but it was only this that was configurable.
François, I have a quick question for you. When at the end of the day we understood that you said that the INS process, the certification, the digital certification was quite a pain in the ass, or 7 months, journey, and then the process for PECAN is not that so easy. At your time, why didn't you choose to directly go for the permanent reimbursement? Why did you choose PECAN?
Because I was not sure of the level of proof on the clinical level that was required from the health authorities to obtain a reimbursement on a permanent reimbursement. We didn't have any data from a randomized trial, any specific data from a randomized trial showcasing organizational benefits or survival or quality of life benefits. We had a beginning of proof on hospitalization reduction, but it was not statistically relevant. So I did not want to take the risk. Of course, there was a political will. There was a political will to go further with digital health strategy and to implement RPM for many therapeutic areas. Oncology being the first one to be expanded. But I didn't know what was the level of proof required, so I prefer to be 100% secured, having already published some data on performance algorithm, satisfaction, adherence, etc. And having ongoing trials on organizational benefits, I told myself that it was the best route.
No, good. It was just a question for a better understanding.
And maybe one question. So we have We have an international audience tonight, so companies from France. We touched on that a bit already, but what advice would you give to companies, non-French companies who want to apply to PECAN?
Take your time before applying, because you don't have infinite chances, I believe, to apply. Have a good market access firm alongside you for specialized in medical device and some experiment or some experience already in the digital health space. MedConsult is really a company that I strongly advise to work with. They are very professional, so take the time to work with them. Try to work with market access firms that will help you navigate the process. And focus on adherence, satisfaction, on algorithm performance that are easy study to develop prior applying. You don't have to have many patients to do such studies. 50 patients for patient satisfaction, on patient adherence, on algorithm performance is enough. It's at least it's a start. And focus on organizational benefits when you are in RPM as a start. It's better to have some things that you can really prove easily to obtain the first level of reimbursement, rather than trying to target the full price with survival benefits, because it will take much more time to obtain survival benefit. And for DTx, I will say that you work well on the design before starting your process, because if you don't have your design of your studies, that will be the pivotal study for obtaining permanent reimbursement, you have a big risk not to obtain the permanent reimbursement. So easy way to obtain PECAN, I think, is to do a small publication on around the things that I told you about: algorithm, satisfaction, adherence, and take the time to work on the pivotal study with clinical benefits or organizational benefits, whether you are DTx or RPM.
Christophe, anything to add?
Yeah, regarding a medical device or digital medical device, I will strongly suggest what Francois just said before regarding a pre-meeting with the HAS. And from my experience, from the 5 or 6 clinical studies we submitted for reimbursement, a good way to get information about how strong is going to be your clinical data when you are, about to launch your clinical study for reimbursement. It's, discuss the protocol of your clinical study. Of course, better if it's a randomized clinical study with the HAS, and you will have a good understanding if whether or not the data you are going to provide are going to be accepted by the CNEDIMS. So this is all important. Before, they were not so happy, to meet you and give you this kind of information regarding your protocol, but now they understand this is a difficult process, expensive for the company. And, if you fail, you have to go back, and it will, take you 6 more or 9 more months to submit again your dossier. So just meet with the HAS and bring the information you have.
And Christophe, you mentioned before the Genius platform, and I highly recommend that platform as well. So it has been developed by the Ministry of Health in France, and they really want it to be comprehensive, the go-to for people who have questions about the healthcare system, French healthcare system in general. You have really lots of information there. They even have some pages section about different countries, so you can find one on Denmark, on Germany, on Spain. So it's quite useful. So really, highly recommend to have a look at that platform.
I do agree.
So now I think we're coming to the end of the session. Any last remark from both of you, Christophe?
Yeah, no, it's going to be a long journey. So, just be prepared. It's going to be a team effort. Just take someone or experts to be with you, for this journey. Should be with DiGA or with PECAN, because the French administration, it's not so easy to understand, but at least we have a reimbursement. So it's the beginning of something for me.
Francois?
Nothing to add.
Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for your time,
Thank
for
you,
sharing
Aline.
all those information with the audience. Thanks to the audience for being with us tonight. And thanks to TISAC, DiarioSalud, and Consorcio DTx for your support. So we see you soon for another event. Have a nice
Thank you, Aline.
evening.
Bye-bye, Aline.
Bye-bye. Thank you.